Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to the Digital Nomad Finance Bro YouTube channel, a new YouTube channel combining the two worlds of being a digital nomad, meaning living in location-independent lifestyle, and a finance bro, where you understand how finance and investment works so you can have the money ready to live anywhere in the world you want, and also run your own business or maintain a successful career or remote job while living in beautiful and cheap places like Thailand or Colombia or Eastern Europe or really anywhere else that you fancy. So the topic we want to look at today is the best-selling book, The Entrepreneur Mind, written by Kevin D. Johnson. And a bit of background before I go into this book. I was actually spending a month living in the capital of the country, Georgia, Tbilisi, where I was just walking through the streets and there happened to be an outdoor bookstore, sort of a market stall. So I picked up the book, thought this would be a good start to my journey. Let's read 100 tips in a bite-sized format to kind of put myself in the right mindset to start a business, to grow my business, find customers, etc. Let's take a look at the actual book itself and who the author is. And out of the 100 tips, what I would consider to be the top 10 lessons presented right to you in detail, so you get the most value out of your time. And then we'll go into rapid fire through each of the 100 lessons. And finally, I will give the book a rating out of 5 stars, considering its usefulness in today's day and age, considering the book is 13 years old now, and media has moved forward in the form of YouTube videos and podcasts. So The Entrepreneur Mind is essentially a book that contains 100 tips that starting entrepreneurs should know. It's divided into 7 sections, which are strategy, education, people, finance, marketing and sales, leadership, and motivation. Strategy takes up about a full third of the book with 35 tips, education at a meager 2, and the majority of the other sections are ranging between 13 to 17 tips each. The book was published in January 2013, a little over 13 years ago as of filming this video today. So some of the news might be outdated, and there is certainly a focus towards businesses and entrepreneurs who were very popular at the time, such as Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and Steve Jobs. But of course, as we know, each of those 3 companies are now in the Magnificent 7, so they have held up, and the majority of the tips in the book do hold up today as well. And this author founded several successful companies, ranging from his own Facebook back when he was in university to a content management tool using his background as a software developer, and founding his own Johnson Media company, which included a newspaper amongst other things. And he has met with many famous people, including Barack Obama, sports stars, and musicians, and does university lectures. So the book is structured to show 100 tips, and each of the tips has at least one concrete anecdote presented by the author from his own personal experiences or from a famous entrepreneur that we could learn from. So I want to get the top 10 lessons out of the way because they do vary in quality. So some of these are life-changing, whereas some of the other tips are more like just pure common sense and things you would have known regardless. Now, I've attempted to rank these top 10 in order of most to least important, and the very first point I want to make that every single young entrepreneur should learn is to not waste time. And that is the lesson number 5. And I like to translate it to my own words: have a sense of urgency. So I know we all have these big ideas. We say, okay, we want to start a new AI company, or start a car company, or start a new software. And a lot of us kind of get this bright idea and we just kind of hold on to it, and we never take the initiative to get the first step or the second step or the third step on the ground. and you kind of just hold this idea. And part of the reason is that you might actually be scared that your idea will fail, so you don't actually want to test it in the real world. Or two, you just think like, oh yeah, you'll do it whenever, you'll do it at any time, it'll exist. You just gotta, when you're mentally ready, step in and take over it. So that is not the way entrepreneurs work. The truth is, everyone has ideas, everyone gets amazing ideas, but you need to take the effort. You need to work overtime. You need to at least work several hours a day to make this idea a reality. You need to say, okay, if you're sitting down to work, you got to start working. You have to wake up excited and ready to go. If you don't have this sense of urgency, you're going to have very weak momentum. You're going to be making barely any progress. You're going to, for every little 2% of progress, every day you take off, you're going to lose like 1% of progress, and you're pretty much going to be back to zero constantly. So as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, if you are trying to get a source of income that is reliable, that is consistent, that is high, you need to put in the hours, you need to put in the work, and you need to do it as fast as you can. You need to put your full energy in on it, rather than saving it for last at the end of your day. Maybe half an hour before bed, you'll do a little something for it. So that is really the advice I want to give most entrepreneurs, and I've been a victim of this myself. You have a grand idea, you want to push it forward, but ultimately what ends up happening is that you just let it sit by the side. That is not the way to go. So second top lesson is, an idea's execution, not uniqueness, yields results. So this is another big issue I see young entrepreneurs making. They'll have this amazing idea like, oh, I want to start a conference for digital nomads. Ironically, we were at a digital nomad conference where the point was to bring together digital nomads, so it was just fresh in their heads. Or they want to start an AI academy, or they want to start an app to connect people, or to find the best food, or to help with food indecisiveness, or some other kind of niche. So good ideas are never in short supply. Anybody can come up with a good idea, and don't think because you had a good idea in your head that sets you apart, that makes you special. It does not. And that may be a harsh lesson for a lot of people, but the way to succeed in entrepreneurship or in businesses in general is to execute properly. It's not to come up with the best idea, it's to make sure the idea gets completed properly. And this goes, of course, with the first lesson of having a sense of urgency. The third top lesson I would give is to get the right mentor. So if you're just a random person and you have an idea, and let's say you are a hardworking, diligent person with a sense of urgency, you won't know what you're doing. What is the best way to learn? School is a good option, but certainly having the right mentor, or having a strong mentor, ideally someone who has done it, ideally someone who is available for you, is the cheat code. Like, you're not gonna figure it out all on your own. And most entrepreneurs who are genuinely driven, they spend loads of time watching YouTube videos, reading books, watching podcasts, watching top CEOs speak as a form of fill-in mentor, because they might not have a direct mentor. But honestly, if you want to advance your business expertise and your company, you need to go out to networking events or join online groups and meet people and form relationships. Even at your workplace with a higher level executive, you need to form those relationships with those people. You need to ask them, how did you do it? What were some of the big problems? What did you do in this situation? What did you do in that situation? What advice do you have for me? And ideally someone who you form a strong relationship with, that they can provide you feedback at any time, that will set you leagues above everyone else who is just sitting there blowing steam out of their head trying to figure it out on their own, instead of spending 1 hour a week, 1 hour a month with their mentor who's gonna just give them the fast track to success. The fourth lesson I want to mention is that you have sales before you have a business. Now, a lot of people, they do this thing of overthinking, where essentially they will just map out their entire business plan, map out their entire idea, and they just want it to be perfect, and they want to spend more time learning, and they just think, oh, if only I got like a super high amount of money, then I'll be able to execute, then I'll get sales, then I'll hire a team who can do all these other functions. That's not what the core of business is. The core of business is not setting up an organization. It's not having a set of systems set up for you using money if you have no experience, first of all, running these sorts of systems. But second of all, if you are attempting to sell a product or service that has a low demand, you want to speak with your sales in the forefront. If people are already buying your product, if there is a lot of interest and demand, this confirms that you have a valuable product, and that a business can and should be started around your product, as opposed to needing a ton of resources just to get your first sale. So you need to have a sales first mentality if you are attempting to start some kind of a business. And then the fifth of the top 10 lessons is to spend the majority of your time with people smarter than you. So this kind of aligns with the mentor lesson. If you really want to move ahead, you need to constantly be bouncing your ideas off of people that are smarter than you, that'll give you genuine feedback, that'll genuinely critique your ideas, instead of people who just say, oh wow, you're so smart, oh wow, that's such a good idea, oh, I could see you doing well, but really they don't have much to offer. So you really want to invest your time into learning from people smarter than you. Now getting into another top 5 lessons, so avoiding negative cash flow, and this kind of goes along with the next lesson in the book, which is manage debts well. A lot of people think you need to put in a whole ton of money before you get your first sale, before you get your first cash flow. Again, as I've mentioned, you need a business, you need a product that forces a business to be created around it, because there is genuine demand for it. So you need to be constantly monitoring your weekly and monthly and annual cash flows to make sure you're netting positive, because you will have bills to pay, you'll have timelines, and if you cannot meet those timelines, well, you'll have to use debt to meet the timelines. And if your debts get too high, your interest rate is gonna cut well into any profit margin you have. So you need to think twice, you need to think thrice about any additional money, any additional debt you're going to spend into your business, and work on running a company that's as lean and efficient as possible. Now, another one of the top 10 lessons is doing what's important first. So this really goes kind of hand in hand with the urgency. So this is a principle of prioritization. So I know we all of us driven people, we write out our task list. We say, okay, this is what I need to go through. You brainstorm really hard to create a nice task list with 20, 30 items. And deep down, you know what the most important ones are. You know what the key factors are to advance your business. But you choose to focus on the easy ones that are easier to tick off, that are faster to do, that you're more comfortable and familiar with. And you end up giving yourself a false sense of progress by doing the low priority tasks first, but constantly for months and for years ignoring the important tasks. So the method recommended in the book is to pick 2 or 3 non-negotiables every day. Wake up in the morning and say, these are the things I'm going to do first, and I'm going to get out of my way first. Okay? Do not wake up and organize your email as nicely as it can look. That's something I would normally do. I would spend maybe half an hour every day organizing my inbox. So it's nice and organized and I feel like I'm on top of things. Do not go through your regular weekly tasks unless that is, of course, a priority. If you are trying to chip away at a much bigger iceberg, you need to be chipping at it. You can't just be focusing on the small stuff that gives you short-term pleasure. Another top lesson, which was the second one in the book, was to create new markets. So this is a reflection of innovative thinking. You want to be essentially creating a good or a service that will create new products, open up a whole new territory, basically find a new niche or find a new macro trend that will require companies to spend more and put you as the first mover in that market. So if you are really trying to make a monumental company, then you need to look at new markets as opposed to just copycatting or getting into a saturated market like e-commerce or drop shipping. Instead, you want to create a new market. One example I can provide is that there's a company called Mercor, and they're essentially using AI technology to help staff positions at all sorts of companies. And that is a completely new market. And in fact, they're actually trying to staff positions for companies that are looking to test AI systems and improve AI systems. And they moved into this new market, and they also follow a 996 protocol, meaning work 9 hours a day for 6 days a week. Sorry, let me correct that. Working from 9 to 9 for 6 days a week. So the truth is, if you're trying to build a business, if you're trying to build a substantial income above what people make in the corporate world, you will need to be putting those 9 to 9 hours instead of just 9 to 5, like half-assing through the day like most people do at their corporate jobs. That is not how you will build the income you need to live a location independent lifestyle, to own properties, to own multiple vehicles, to own properties in different countries, etc. So that is the work you have to put in. And then touching upon the Mercor example, you want to adopt technology early. So it's very clear we live in a time with rapidly advancing technology. If you're the first one to get on top of new technologies, you will be the first one to get paid. You will be the one ahead of the race. This was done by Microsoft, this was done by Apple, this was done by absolutely any company that put their technology above traditional practices, let's say. And then the final top 10 lesson is essentially in resilience. So act in spite of how you feel. We get it. Not every day you want to be working hard. Not every day you want to make cold calls. Not every day you want to write a program. Not every day you want to make a PowerPoint. Not every day you want to record a YouTube video. But if you have strong resilience, you need to push through that. You need to accept that as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, you will have to do things you don't necessarily like, particularly in the beginning stages before you hire other people. You will need to be a master of all tools. You cannot really be a specialist, and you will have to face problems that are completely abstract, that don't have a clear yes or no, do this in case of that mechanism. You will really have to make sense from a world of endless opportunities. And that takes a lot of energy, that takes a lot of perseverance, that takes a lot of mental effort. So if you are driven, you will be acting in spite of your mood or your level of fatigue or your self-esteem or self-confidence at the moment. So I'll say, if you can take these 10 lessons to heart, you will be much ahead of the pack, much ahead of the new mob of entrepreneurs coming out every week, and get aligned with top top talent to learn and work with them and to successfully start your own business, or at the least latch on to a startup that has some initial success, and you can further employ these skills to learn more and perhaps either stay with that fresh high growth company or start your own once you learn more in a position with more power and resources and better mentors. So I would say that is the goal to strive towards, and these would be the top 10 lessons in the book. Now let's go into a bit of a deep dive into the 100 lessons. Essentially, I will just provide a 1-sentence summary of each of these strategies, so you don't have to read the book yourself and save about 20 hours of your life. So the first lesson is to think big. So low ideas with a max environment, and you need to find motivation. Break down ideas into little steps and thinking big enough. So this, but to summarize, look for new opportunities so you can be the first pick. A blue ocean in work on your business system that can function without you, which is to build a company that is systems dependent. Build a business that functions. So in case as a so an entrepreneur is someone who it is to simply environment motion and just stay at that company with that job security, and there's low risk. Down, taking time off of building your concrete experience is a massive risk. So to be an entrepreneur, you have to be a risk taker. Number 5, we talked about don't waste time. In other words, have a sense of urgency. Number 6, we just mentioned. Number 7 is to ask for help. So you want to always be asking for opinions inside, because people don't want to help them. Kevin himself, the author, mentions that he couldn't accomplish a monumental business all by himself. His 8th tip is a little controversial. It's business comes first, family second, with his logic being that if you're taking care of your business, you're taking care of your family's financial needs, which I may disagree with, or many people may disagree with, but that's one way of looking at it. Number 9 is one of the top 10 lessons. Prioritize, wake up in the morning and get that thing out. Barely matter. Number 10 is to hire a good lawyer. Determine what kind of legal entity you want to be, whether a sole proprietorship, a partnership, or a corporation. You want to protect any intellectual property and get it trademarked, and he'll review all incoming and outgoing legal docs. Business plans are overrated. And determine how you'll build a competitive advantage, which means why your business will be at least slightly better. Want to develop that basic prototype and map out the vital steps and services. And he also mentions business plans with more names on them look better. If you're the only person on the business plan, apparently investors don't like that. Criticism and disagreement in your company. If everyone's just agreeing with everything you say, it's gonna stop you from actively hire team members who are unafraid to truffle feathers and disagree. Customers, if they don't know what they need or they're always seeking changes, if they don't want to pay an hourly or piece rate, and if they intuition and deny that customer, because you don't want to waste time, you don't want to get in bed with someone who's going to waste your time and money, not pay you, not leave you. So making money while doing nothing is to remove yourself from the business by building systems, not people, by automating activities. 15, outsourcing makes sense. Any functionality not core. Number 16, move on fast from a failing business. If it's a bad economy is a great opportunity. Roll up their sleeves and grind, which we discussed. Number 19, ignorance can be bliss. Contradictory lesson that's actually make your judgment better in understanding how to advance a product or achieve competitive advantage. In other words, as possible, you might not be very basic features which your customers would value more. A good example is the iPhone. It was not a superior, but it just had such a pleasant user face and it looked pretty that it became the highest selling phone in the world, at least in North America. And that didn't necessarily develop. Number 20, adapt to change quickly. The pain to change, don't miss opportunities, and do a bi-month threat. Times are exponential. If you ignore technology, you'll go bankrupt. Think about Ken Olsen, Blockbuster. You can get rich very quick, such as Netflix. Follow up. It's an underrated task. Something so simple can have devastating consequences. People lacking dedication and energy, or thinking it's wrong to message them weekly. Quick anecdote on this: when I was in university, and simply we met, we made the connection. They said, okay, I'll help you out, if there's an opportunity that, I followed up, for example, once. I said, oh yeah, can you help me get hired, this or that, la la la. And then after maybe the first time, or if they ignored me, I would just feel connections who essentially agreed to help me. I just let the relationship fade away because I was too scared. The point of being annoying. I'd rather annoy someone to the point where they help me just so I stop bothering them. Number 23, you want to have laser-like focus, eliminate unnecessary. You need to cut profitable product lines if it's not your core functioning. Number 24, this is actually a very interesting lesson. Non-profit goals are not to make profit. They still function like a real a product or a service that they would need in their operations, they'll pay you just as much as a normal company, but in fact they might pay you more because they have budgets and they sometimes have minimum spending requirements. So you actually can have excellent deals and they will be a normal client for you. Meanwhile, so that's an underexplored industry. Number 25 is to explore new adventures for inspiration. So changing your scenery and traveling can introduce new business ideas. Number 26, need to begin again, this time more intelligently. 27 is to seek partnerships for the right reason. You want to accelerate. Bad reasons are to cover weaknesses or to generate pressure. Master at leveraging resources. I thought of putting this into the top 10. If you're an entrepreneur, what get the most value out of every single resource you have, because you're not going to have unlimited funds in the early days. Some of the examples he mentions is that some companies will pay a new vendor through free food or free office space. You can form relationships this way, you can create new customers this way, and you can even yourself use these goods, for example, or at least as saying thank you to build rapport. Number 29, so mention an idea's execution, not uniqueness, yields success. Good ideas, executions are few and far in between. Be a good executor. Number 30 is that you want to find an enemy. This will focus your efforts on doing better in order to excel. You want to find the weak points in their business plan and see how you can do it better. You want to work to they're a blue sky. At the same time, you don't want to underestimate your competition. So there are also substitutes. For example, if you're selling hamburgers, people look at those, and something you should never do is tell your investors that you don't have a competition. You're in a completely new industry. That's just going to make you sound naive and immature. Number 32 is to ask for what you want. So sometimes just asking will give you what you want. His example is that, oh, he had the bravery to ask his new client, and they said, yeah, sure, go ahead, we don't mind. And boom, he just saved himself maybe like $100,000 a year just because they're like, okay, sure, why not? Like, we have a relationship. For us, it's like free or very cheap. We don't really mind. So sometimes just ask, and it could get you further than you expect. No harm in asking. Number 33, no competition means your idea probably has little merit. So if no one else, no other products exist there, of course you're trying to find new markets or create new markets. But if there's absolutely no market for an idea, that might be an indicator that the idea is actually kind of bad. Quickly, you want to respond quickly and calmly, listen attentively, and offer sincere apologies to customers. Tell your customers how you'll address it, give updates often, and when it's resolved, ensure the customer is satisfied. So essentially, if there's an issue, you want to be hand-holding your customer and updating them every hour or every few hours so they believe you are competent. Now, number 35, you want to have an exit strategy. Start with the end in mind. You're building a business. You want your business to earn a certain revenue, let's say 100,000, 300,000, 1 million a year. Have an idea for an exit, because one day you might want to leave the you might move on to the next thing. Build your business in a way where you can exit. So quickly talking on education, number 36, school is not necessarily education. Um, you learn much more on the in the field than you will in school, and most entrepreneurs actually leave school before they graduate to start their businesses. And number 37 is that you should be in no rush to get an MBA, because most of what it teaches can be gathered in real life. And some methods to self-educate is to subscribe to industry magazines, read white papers, examine case studies, attend conferences, and interview experts. Now getting into the people component, number 38, spend the majority of your time with people smarter than you, as we've discussed. Don't let your smartest people possible. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. 39. Office space is not a priority, but a good team is. Worth. So there's an emerging culture that how you dress doesn't signal person should admit they don't know all the answers, and focusing on finding team members who do is a much better skill than trying to make yourself learn absolutely everything you can in this world. 42, talent trumps seniority. Newer tech companies prefer hiring young, capable people because merit should take the place of seniority. So hire talent, don't hire seniority. Number 43, you're odd and it's okay, which in other words means that many well-known CEOs, especially in tech, have odd qualities, such as being dyslexic or having ADHD or Asperger's. 44 is that people don't only work for money. A lot of people like to just have perks, and money's not the main issue, and often people who are working for free are better performers than those getting paid. Number 45 is to have a sidekick. So you need to remember to try to find team members or co-founders, because you will get much further running a relay as opposed to running the 400-meter race by yourself. 46 is that you don't want to let people abuse your flexibility. Working outside of 9. You want to be firm with your time and offer deals if friends and spouses are trying to take advantage. 40. When you hire new people, you need to lay out the expectations clearly, and you don't want to spend time managing those people. You want to see if they're not meeting the expectations, they gotta go. Number 48 is to get the right mentor, we talked about earlier. Number 49 is to choose your spouse wisely. So pick someone who's on board with your entrepreneurial ventures and is with you for the right reasons and not distracting you. Number 50 is you want to fire unproductive people. It may hurt, but once you've set the expectations and they're not meeting them, they gotta go, and that's on them. All right, and now moving into part 2, taking a little break. So number 51, you don't need money to make money. A lot of people think that until you get a ton of money, a ton of investors, that you will not succeed. That's not the truth. You need to be resourceful with what you have. Pay taxes quarterly instead of getting your annual tax bill and going into deep overdraft and trying to cough up the cash last minute. Pay your taxes quarterly to better manage your cash flows and financial expectations. 53, a check in hand means nothing. You can actually go to the bank of the issuer, of the issuing check, and ask them if there are enough funds and withdraw the cash on the spot. 54, avoid negative cash flow, as we talked about. 55 is to borrow money from a bank before you need it. So get yourself approved for as much financing as you can, because when bad times hit, all of a sudden banks get really cheap. So have the money available now, even if you're not using it. 56, prepayment is king. Try to get your money as quickly as possible so you end up being cash flow positive, you end up paying off debts on time and not running into issues. 57, hire a professional accountant. You may in the first iteration. Number 58, you want to manage your debt well. You want to receive your credit cards and lines of credit and pay them off on time. And 83% of businesses with under 50 employees use credit cards for debt. So as mentioned, get approved for them, but then constantly pay them off on time, because you will have access to more funds and you will have a lower interest rate. 59, there's a downside to having investors. The assumption is that angel and venture capital investments will immediately lead to a successful company and no money problems is wrong. Securing an investment is like a never-ending marathon and extremely difficult. So you're not just going to get money out of nowhere. You have to work extremely hard for that money. And once you do get that money, it'll only help you if you experiencing solid growth. Driver, if your company's not generating revenue, it doesn't exist. That's going along with the people actually want, okay? Not a company that is theoretically gonna be profitable 10 years later. Number 61, you have or you should have the biggest investment in your company. Meaning, if you put your money into the company, confident in putting their money into it as well. If you're just trying to run this company, but you have no... Number 62, personal and business accounts at the same banks. They might view you as a single entity and force you to pay off debts from your business account to your personal and vice versa. And number 3 is knowing your paydex score. So this is essentially like your credit rating, but for a business. So you can look it up online, and suppliers can look it up to determine how credit worthy you are. At the same time, you can look it up for your potential customers to see how likely they'll be to pay. Getting into section 5, marketing and sales. So as mentioned, you're in sales whether you want to be or not. You want to develop a business idea with sales and customer needs in mind. So that don't forget that you're here to make money. You're not here to design a beautiful product and to pursue what makes you feel good. That is not what business and entrepreneurship is about. A lot of people like to talk about, oh, just pick something you love and pick something that makes you happy to do, and then things will just kind of resolve themselves. No, that is incorrect. You need to understand what customers want, what customers are willing to pay for, and how much, and then you want to get that product into their hands. That is what it's all about. Your individual passion does not really matter. Of course, having an individual passion will make you more motivated to keep pushing in this hard lifestyle, but your core business idea should be to provide something of value to people. So do not forget that. So you're always selling something. And if you're not a genius salesman, you need to find one to work with you. So number 65, your customer is your boss. Anyone who says, oh, I want to start a business so I don't have to deal with a boss, well, your customer is going to be your boss. And if you let your boss down, you're literally not going to get paid. Your business is literally going to shut down. You're not going to be free from the 9 to 5 office schedule just because you don't have a traditional boss. You need to be very receptive to their feedback and complaints. You need to actively figure out what their complaints are and resolve them. And number 66, have sales before having a business. As I mentioned in the beginning, if you're trying to set up a business, you need to set up that business around a high demand product, not around some arbitrary idea. Number 67, you're not always the best person to close a deal, so be self-aware of your skills and abilities. Keep in mind that charming, beautiful people do sell more than less attractive or timid people, and you might want to consider tailoring the delivery or the deliverer of a message to align with your client's wants. So this is the advice from the author, but I'm pretty sure it's true. Number 68, networking isn't all about you. Many people at networking events just want to talk about themselves and sell their services. You want to ask better questions like, what is the best type of customer for you? Or what specifically can I do to help your business grow? This will change the engagement, and you'll appear as someone useful and make you seem like you're coming from a place of servitude rather than coming to the event to take. Number 69, you don't want to waste time on people who can't say yes. If you're trying to negotiate something with a potential client, you want to find the for this, because sometimes you could get stuck with like a mid-level manager who has very little sway, who's too scared to ask his boss, whose boss has no idea who you are and that they even need you. And you're going to waste a whole lot of time and emotional energy chasing these non-decision makers. Number 70 is to do warm calls. So you want to do as much research about a potential investor or client as possible before calling and talking to them. Number 71, tell everyone about your business. Talk to everyone. A customer can appear anytime, anywhere. And being passive about your business will have poor results. You are your best marketer. You have a responsibility to market your business. Number 72, ask the right questions. Avoid simple yes or no questions. Aim for open-ended questions to get the customers to talk more. And ask the right question immediately after an objection is important. You want to find out what their actual resistance is to your product so you can directly address objections, and then offer good solutions right away. You're usually in business interactions, clients offer only 20% of what's on their mind. It's your responsibility to get the other 80%. Number 73, you want to receive the maximum price for your goods. If you might be undercharging just to get your name in the game, just to get anything going, but once you're a little bit more, because you may be underselling and over pushing yourself. You need to have some resilience when raising your prices, but be sure that you're charging a high price for a high quality service. So don't patronize your customers. You don't want to act too important to them. Some CEOs think they're supposed to act super busy and important, or they're trying to delegate, or genuinely egotistic. You don't want to wave off in a way like, oh, my secretary will call you. If you meet that person, a potential client in person, you want to have that personal connection, and your customer should feel like the most important person in the world. Number 75 is to build your network creatively. So formal networking, there was a concept of net weaving from 2001 where you essentially help people for free in the hopes that they would come back and help you later. But that's questionable, and you want to be proactive, researching ahead who will be somewhere. You want to be creative, find interesting places, and find ways to stay out. And you need to find the check writers. One method the author suggests is to volunteer for charities, because this will give you a chance to determine which corporate reps may be there, and you can speak to them and build much better rapport as opposed to a networking event. And number 76 is don't hold grudges. If a potential client offends you by not understanding your value proposition or backing out of a deal, don't get angry and excommunicate them. Rather, keep them on your radar, as they may change their mind later. This may contradict a little bit with firing which number is it here? Firing your bad customers. But you need to apply some judgment and don't give up on people who turned you down in the past. Looking at chapter 6 now, leadership, number 77. You need to keep pushing in spite of what you feel. You need to understand your negative emotions and feel like doing versus what we should, and it's a daily battle and you must win. Don't let fatigue or annoyance deter you from seizing grand opportunities. 78, you need to push beyond fear. 79, be a maverick. A rebellious nature is a big contributor. Is different, breaks the rules, and challenges authority, then you could be a real innovator creating disruption. Number 80, make your dreams come true. Pursue them relentlessly until you make it happen. So I'll just pause here. I want to make it clear that the last two sections of the book are more so discussing kind of qualities of entrepreneurs, common qualities, and sort of affirmations that you may be entrepreneurial, as opposed to real lessons. So it's a little bit more fluffy here, so I'll go through them a little bit faster. And that if you're going to be putting your business before your family, before your job, before job security, before vacations, etc. You need to be ready for that. Entrepreneurship. Yourself. You need to have unbelievable endurance. So running a business is like running a marathon. And funny enough, the stats say about as many people run a mentor. You need to do these things constantly. You can't just say, oh, on the day and win first place. Well, you gotta be constant. So 83, be prepared to lose it all. There will be severe final chapter, motivation, number 84. Remember that being successful is not the goal. You want a problem which provides value to customers. You can have great wealth and still live a modest lifestyle, and success or respect. Focus on helping the world and collecting profits rather than the end game of becoming rich. 5 of the motivation chapter is that you are excited business going, get the momentum going. Number 86, entrepreneur. A healthy fear combined your parents your path, because it can allow you to surpass a corporate career, one which also may have layoffs that have nothing to do with your performance. 89. Sometimes you'll get more resentment. People who wish they could have done the immense work required, and other people, they just don't like the fact who be an innovator. Your goal is to become a manager. You're gonna get a ton more work. Most ideas. It's a 5 job. Becoming an entrepreneur, you're not going to be able to push the envelope forward. Just saying that now. It says if you trace your ancestry back far enough, you'll find that someone in your past was an entrepreneur. So that should be an affirmation that you can be an entrepreneur. Number 2 is to know your worth. Only take offers at your worth. You need to believe that you or your company can be worth a lot and be ready to negotiate. Number 93 is that you have trouble keeping a job. It's proven in studies that entrepreneurs move around between jobs more frequently than regular people. Number 94 says crying is okay. Steve Jobs cried many times. Number 95 is that you're never too old. If you're older, you have more knowledge and experience. Number 96 is that you feel unequal joy when an idea becomes reality. I've had this experience in university. I created a student group. At first, it was just a figment of my imagination. Then we had a name, we had a logo. Eventually, we got approved, which was a difficult process. Hired a team, hosted events, and I felt very strong pride and success when I was just walking through the halls and I heard other people talking about my student group and going to my events. And it's crazy that something I just imagined became a reality, and that is really one of the best feelings in the world. Number 97, following passion is bogus. If passion drives you, let reason hold the reins. Contrarily, success comes from doing that which often gives you the least emotional satisfaction. The strongest and wisest entrepreneurs assume difficult tasks without fail, and business is about solving problems, improving quality of life, and creating new solutions and making money. So like I mentioned a little earlier, it's not about pursuing your passion. It's not an easy fix like, oh, if I pursue my passion, that means my business will just fall into place and I'll become rich and happy. No, it requires a lot of work. You're going to have to do a lot of really annoying, mean to do for you, but you're going to have to do them yourself. Number 98, you got to have the right motivation. So he says there are 3 main motivations to be an entrepreneur. The first is that you're tired. Replicate that environment, but on your own terms. So that's kind of what I was touching upon earlier. Basically, you just want to be a manager. That doesn't mean you want to be an entrepreneur. You should just work on becoming a manager then. Number 2 is survival. You've left your job and now you need money to survive. So you're trying to start a business. That is also not ideal. But number 3 is, as he mentioned a few times, creating something to solve a problem in the world. You want to commit yourself to explore a solution to a problem and bring it to reality. These entrepreneurs have the best results because you're not limited or you're not tied down by psychological baggage. Number 99, you love your life as an entrepreneur. You can accomplish anything, but you're ready. Path for you. Entrepreneur forever. The obstacles like age or failure. We're all entrepreneurs. When we lived in caves, we would gather and hunt to feed. Then with civilization. But remember, it is part of being a part of a company. Go into entrepreneurship because you think you can put in the hard work and be resourceful to provide a solution to a problem in the world or service, or good or service, that people are willing to pay for, and you can towards oriented organization that will sell this product as efficiently as possible, willing to take the risk that you can lose it all, may be an entrepreneur, and you should pursue this path. This is essentially what the book boils down to. So really think twice, especially if you're new to entrepreneurship, if that's really the path you want to take, whether you just wanted to be a business owner because you think it gives you more freedom and gives you more status and respect. Maybe take a second look, because I would say maybe only 5 to 10% of entrepreneurs end up making more money than they would have. Much 99% of entrepreneurs take at least just as much crap as you do at your regular job, but you take it from customers, you take it from investors, you take it from suppliers, you take it from customers who just don't end up paying you, etc. And you got to be really ready to come with the full package. Like, you got to understand sales, you have to understand consumer mentality, you got to understand finances, you got to be creative and create deliverables. You can't just be motivated by, your paycheck every 2 weeks. You got to really motivate yourself. So really think about if this is the path. Then continue learning about it, watching videos like this, reading books, going to sessions, reading industry newspapers, watching podcasts, watching top entrepreneurs speak so you can learn more, and never forget to take action. Biggest takeaway is act with a sense of urgency. Don't just be saying, oh yeah, one day I'll start working on my idea, instead of just daydreaming about it. You need to start acting now. Alright, so getting onto the final page here. So you might be a little shocked that I gave the book such a low rating, 2.5 out of 5 stars. And allow me to explain why my rating is a little bit low. Even though I've read this book thoroughly, I seem to have a pretty good attitude towards it. I'm just giving a purely objective rating, especially in 2026. So my main issue with the book is that it's mostly beginner level with a little bit of intermediate territory. Or coming from a background where you just never really studied business or entrepreneurship, or maybe you are an entrepreneur in the sense like your parents own a shop or something like that, this book can be quite eye-opening for a lot of people. About entrepreneurship, or like you just 4.5 out of 5 stars. Management, like senior man. Learned much from this. Learned maybe that there were a lot of fluff points, especially going through that whole kind of leadership and motivation section, like the whole final fifth of the book, maybe final quarter. These qualities, that might mean you're already an entrepreneur. 100. There were a few tips that could have just been, no, point number 3 was to build a business where you're not the center of the business, and then point number 6, not a people-oriented business, but they both essentially said the same thing, that you want to have solid systems in place that don't rely on you or a particular person to function. So that was, yeah, definitely kind of repetitive there. Some of the tips are slightly outdated, not too bad. I mean, definitely a lot of the anecdotes are from, let's say, stuff that happened between like 2008 and 2012. There's a lot of talk about like the Great Recession. Scale AI phase in society, so something like adopt new technologies is just like, you don't even have to mention that. But my main reason for kind of giving it a lower score out of 5 stars is just there are of how to really, that'll be a much better use of your time. So I spent just watching, for example, podcast specifics that they specific that would have been a lot more educated. Thanks so much. A digital nomad lifestyle, so we can get more people into the wealth ranks and build an international business. And I will see you beautiful people another day. Bye bye.